Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of the Give 'em Heck podcast. I'm Brian. This is your host, Penny. And so, a couple of quick announcements. First of all, our TikTok is running along smoothly.
Yep.
It's been a hot minute since we uploaded an episode just because it's been such a busy week.
Always.
Um, I had mentioned in, I think it was last week's live stream, or was it the prior episode? I can't remember now. That I'm currently working on a project with some people that's going along really good. That's what's been eating up a lot of my time. But other than that, we're going to be doing a lot more live streams.
Yes.
We actually want to make that our primary format. I did look into how to download the episodes after they're done of the lives so that I can post them to other platforms.
Good.
So other people can listen in. But yes, we definitely hope to see more of you join our lives. Last week's was
Good.
really good.
Really good.
And as far as their announcements, I think that's
I
it.
got one.
She has one.
I have. So what I wanted to let you all know, like Brian said, we had our third live stream last week that went very well. So if you didn't have the chance to see that, please go take a look at that on our YouTube. Also, we are going to be doing more lives, like Brian said. So with that being said, after tonight or this podcast, we will not be back on until Saturday, December 6th at 6 o'clock. And I will give out announcements for that before that time happens, just as a reminder to let you guys know. But it will be Saturday, December 6th at 6 o'clock. That will be a live broadcast. And the reason for that is because the next couple weeks we're going to be gone for Thanksgiving. So in advance, we hope you all have a great Thanksgiving and hopefully have plans to be with family and friends during that time. But that's basically why you won't see us for a couple of weeks. And we'll give some more announcements at the end. But with that being said, are you good?
I believe so.
Okay, then we will start with our disclaimer that we are not doctors, psychologists, or counselors. We are not given any medical or psychological advice. We're just simply here to discuss real life situations to give hope, encouragement, and instill change. So, as always, in our last episode, which wasn't live, we talked about your mind and your words.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Kind of remember, because we started with the words, then we put in the mind, and we're kind of going on a journey. Okay. So, when I say to you, Brian, mind and words, what does that mean to you? Or I could say it this way, what does your mind and words mean to you?
In what context? Like
Well,
literally, or?
I guess you could take it from where we've been talking about it. If you can remember. And if not, just kind of go with it.
Well, I'm trying. You know me, I think deep.
You do.
I think very deep.
But if you want to expound on it, I don't expect you to say exactly what you said, because that was a few weeks ago.
It was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so if you want to add to it or change, whatever.
Well, I think, I can't remember exactly what I said, so bear with me. But under current circumstances, when you say mind and words, to me, that implies that you're thinking of an action and your words push you toward it. Like you're speaking it into existence, kind of. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like I don't want to use the word manifesting, but something like that. You know, like it starts up here and then it comes out, turns into action.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, absolutely. I like that. So I had said to you that I believe it's not just your words, right? Because we talked about how words have power. And if you guys want to go back, that would be probably, if I remember right, episode 25. That gets into the word aspect of...
Wouldn't that have been episode 26, wouldn't it?
It's either 25 or 26. It was 26.
It was 26.
I'm sorry, it was 26. He's right. That it talks about your words and how your words can bring life or death, those types of things, the good or the bad. So if you want to get more into depth with that, you can do that. So I believe that it involves also changing your mindset. Remember, we talked about that. It's not just your words, but also your mindset. So what do I mean by involving your mindset? You can't just say something without believing it in your mind. It's your thinking, but it's also your thoughts. Remember, we defined between your thinking and your thoughts, that there was a difference. And I had given definition on that you have to change what you line up your words with your thoughts. Because thinking is one thing. You can think all the time, right? You're always thinking. But I think your thoughts are much deeper. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's like the same thing with like thinking of like to me in the context, when you say what do you think, it's more of just me expressing my thoughts, but I have no control over it. But if you were to be like, if I was active in a project and then you go, what are your thoughts?
I like that.
It's me projecting myself into it more so than just giving an opinion.
So your thoughts are you?
I would say like, yeah, like it's expression versus action. It's like that same thing.
Right. It's deeper.
Yeah, because I would hope that everybody that watches this show thinks, but when you're asked what are your thoughts, it's almost like it's an invitation to action instead of you just thinking to yourself.
Right.
Like, if I was involved in this is what I would do.
Right.
That's kind of how I interpret it based on the context of the conversation. Right. It's more like an action versus just thinking.
So it's kind of like if I were to say to you right now, Brian, hypothetically, what are you thinking? And you tell me. But then I say to you, well, what is your thoughts on that?
It's
right?
almost like you're opening the door up to more deeper.
Right, because it's telling me who you really are.
Who I am, what my actions would be, yeah.
Where not only your mindset is, but it's a deeper, right? It brings up, and I like how you use the word invitation because it allows me to know you.
Yeah.
Your thoughts allow me to know you. Yeah. Does that make sense? I like that.
I know from the context of the conversation we can make that distinction, but obviously both words can be interchangeable. I just think based on the context, one is definitely more inviting than the other.
I do like that. Okay, so let's look at the two definitions that I had given during that podcast. So thinking means the process of using one's mind to consider or reason about something. So it's very surface level, if that could be a good way to explain it. Where thoughts are an idea or opinion produced by thinking.
I kind of nailed it, didn't I?
Or occurred suddenly in the mind. So it's, the only word I can use is deeper. I mean, is there something more to it? I don't know. Another word, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's probably another word in the English vocabulary that would drive the point home, but based on the definitions you just read, one is definitely more surface level than the other. Right. So I believe that it is a literal transformation when there's a difference between thinking and thoughts, using your words and your mind. So when I say mind, I'm not talking about thinking. I'm talking about your mindset changes because of your thoughts. It's talking about the inner self.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about being more than what we think we are.
I want to add something to that because I just thought of an interesting example. So let's say I'll use mowing the lawn as an example, and just bear with me.
Okay.
So you mow the lawn, right?
Right.
And you ask me, like, you're done. You've done the lawn, it's done. You ask, what do you think? You're kind of just asking, do you like it or not, right?
Okay.
And I could say, oh no, I like it.
Good job.
But if you say, what are your thoughts? You see how that kind of opens the door up to more
it allows
critique?
Me to really, yes.
Like, if I did it, this is what I would have done, or I would have gone around a different way.
Right.
And of course I just picked the lawnmower analogy or the mowing the lawn analogy out of my hat. So, but you see my point.
Yes. That's good.
It's very, what are your, what are you thinking versus what are your thoughts? You can definitely tell there's an undertone
Mm-hmm.
of,
It takes it to a whole new level.
right. It's more personal.
Yeah. And that's what I like, because you and I are deep thinkers.
Not about mowing the lawn,
No,
but yeah.
I don't care about that.
You see
I'm-
both of us standing out in the yard having deep intellectual thoughts about grass.
No. I mean, we had some good conversations this morning, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. Maybe we could bring that up in an episode one of these days.
That was good. That was mind-blowing. That's what I like. So again, we talked about being more than what we think we are, and we're going to get into that a little bit tonight too. So it may seem to be difficult to change our minds or our mindsets because of things that we've been told or taught. We talked about that a little bit today, Brian, didn't we, this morning, about things that we've been told and now we're finding out, and now our whole paradigm is being questioned.
You're not kidding.
And
Of course, I don't want to sound like I'm at a different level than you because, we're both learning every day, but from an outsider's perspective, because I've known this stuff for a long time.
it baffles me how
And-
you did this.
And what's funny is seeing you just basically being introduced to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it makes
From
no
an
sense to
outsider's
me.
perspective, it's fascinating to watch because I have to wonder, is that how people looked at me when I started learning things? And it goes, just for context for our viewers, it goes, the stuff that we're learning would probably make some of you, like, your jaws would hit the floor. And I'd love to see if maybe we could get into it. It's not really a topic that we discuss much on the podcast, but it is something interesting.
It is.
Yeah. It's not a personal thing in regards to, like,
No, it
us.
affects everyone.
It's a very general
Yes,
thing
it does.
that a lot of people deal with. And like I said, I'd love to get into it, but we'll have to think of a way to introduce it.
Yeah. So, and just stopping for a minute on that, Brian. I don't know when you came about learning all of this.
Years.
I know what changed things for me when my light bulb finally went off. And I was like, oh my word. And then things just started, like the doors just started opening up. Things just started, like, really, my mind being blown and being taken back. And now I'm questioning everything, things that I never questioned before because I just took it for face value. But what was the moment for you? When did it happen for you? Because you seem to have been in this long before I got to it. Or, like, when, where, why, and how did it happen for you?
It's kind of hard for me to answer that without getting into the topic.
Okay.
But to give you an idea, probably, that's, I don't want to give too much away, but I'd have to say probably right around the time we moved out of Limestone.
Okay. Wow, that was a long time ago. You would have been very young. Okay. Okay.
And stuff happened that made me question the motives of individuals.
Well, and that is what wakes you up. And it's funny, I was talking to a student this week, and she was asking me things, and she said, isn't it funny how sometimes it takes something little to change or wake up somebody? Sometimes it takes something dramatic, and then sometimes it takes something very dramatic. And I said, yeah, we've talked about that in our podcast, where sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in order for you to finally wake up. And you just said it. You start questioning everything. You question people's motives. You question things that you've been taught. You question. And the more you question, sometimes you're like,
I'd have to say the beneficial part for me is that I didn't have to hit rock bottom.
you didn't.
No, I didn't have
And that's good for you, because I did.
I didn't have to hit rock bottom to start doing the research that I was doing. It was more of watching what it was doing to other people.
Wow. Okay, you and I are going to have to talk about that. That will be a talk off camera. And again, I don't want any of you that are watching being like, well, we're feeling left out. We want to talk about this stuff with you guys because, again, part of our podcast is to help people to, obviously encourage you, help to, instill change and help you to grow and heal. But we want to also be mindful and respectful. Because not everybody's in the same headspace. Yeah. Not everybody's in the same place in their journey. Yeah. And we have to be.
And it can be a very touchy subject.
It can.
Because the stuff that we looked into, it definitely goes. I don't want to say goes hard into reality, but it shakes reality. I think that's a very good.
It shakes reality. That's good. I mean, it can change your whole paradigm, Brian.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm standing back and I'm asking myself, where have I been living?
And that's kind of like, we don't mean to derail here, but
no,
it's
this is good.
From an outsider's perspective, from my point of view, it's funny seeing it alter you versus how I've known it for a long time. And I've even talked to you about it.
I didn't want to believe you because I knew it was going to be life altering to me. How do you change your perspective on what you thought you knew was right, Brian, and all of a sudden, like I said, for me, it was losing Mom. And then I questioned everything. I never questioned anything before that because life was fine. I didn't have to question anything. Life was comfortable.
Yeah.
Did I take a lot for granted? Yeah. But who doesn't?
Yeah. I heard I guess I'll end my part of this conversation.
Yeah, and then we'll get going. I'm so sorry.
On this quote that somebody told me. And I've never heard this quote before, but I knew what he meant. He said, oftentimes the largest trees grow in the darkest forest.
Yeah.
And I can see the analogy he was making because it's always when you think you're alone in your thoughts or in your opinions or whatever, in the depths of the forest, oftentimes it can help you grow the tallest.
Right.
I thought it was a pretty good analogy personally based on the conversation and the context of the conversation.
Well, and when you said that, Brian, it also reminded me of when you had said in one of our podcasts, and it could have been like the last one, I don't know, because there's so many that we talk about stuff, is that you had said it's funny how different we are, yet how much alike we are. And I think the things that you and I talk about on these deep levels, I think we would find that the more we share with people, because this is what I'm finding, that I do find that a lot of people that talk to me that are watching our podcast, they say that they're very relatable.
Yeah. And I know I said I was going to stop, but it's kind of like the same thing with all the people that I have friends with and that I talk to from all over the world. It's so amazing to me how much alike everyone is. And when I say all over the world, I mean it.
Oh, yeah.
I've spoken to people from Germany, from France, Russia, even some people from China, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And it's funny to me how let me put it like this, a lot more people agree with me than they disagree.
Right. Well, in the end, Brian, aren't we all really just looking for truth?
Yeah.
Like what, and we've talked about truth before, like what your truth is, what my truth is, but at the end of the day, aren't we really all looking?
There's a difference, and I know we've talked about this in other episodes, but there's a difference between wanting to know the truth versus my truth. And oftentimes we settle with my truth because it's easier to handle.
It's comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? The comfortable lie instead
Yeah.
of the hard truth. Okay.
That was interesting.
That was
wasn't
a little rabbit trail, but we'll get back on. All right, let's do this.
Let's get back on track.
Let's get back on track. So again, we said that our minds, it's hard because of things that we've been taught and told our whole lives. But I believe that the transformation, Brian, when we decide to get into these things, like kind of like what we were just talking about, that transformation begins in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about the words, we've talked about the mind, the thinking, the thoughts, but it also involves the heart. And when I say this, and I said this, I believe last podcast, is that I've heard it said that out of the heart, the mouth speaks. So what does that mean to you, Brian?
I think it can go both ways, both good and bad. You'll oftentimes know a person's true intent through the things that they say and do. Because to me, when you say the heart, that tells me it's more action.
Intent,
action. Yeah. And then when you say the mouth, you got to listen to how people talk to you, how they'll criticize you, because there's a difference between constructive criticism and just criticism.
Right.
But if I have a negative heart, my words will influence my actions.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the heart is the root
to everything.
The plant is the words and actions.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, the only way to get rid of the weed is to pull it out by the root.
Yeah.
And that requires a change of heart.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, again, going back to my students, I've told them before that I don't just listen to what they're saying to me. I want to hear what they're saying to me. Not because I'm always looking for intent. Like, I'm not always looking for something wrong or the negative. But when somebody talks to me, I'm not just listening, I'm hearing what they're saying because I want to know the underlying. Again, I want to know the intent of the heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that every time somebody's talked to you that there's a deceptive motive behind it, but let's be honest. I believe that what you speak tells me a lot about who you really are. And you don't have to talk to me very long before I'm going to figure out exactly who you are.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And a lot of people, and this goes for both of us, a lot of people will either like us or hate us.
And I love that you brought that up because, again, I told that to someone this week that I am the type of person, there's only two people that really are around me. And it's either people that really hate me or really love me. And I'm okay with either.
Yeah.
Because
But there is no middle ground.
There's no middle ground.
There's never a person that I've personally met that has ever been like,
and I'm okay with it.
Oh yeah, I know who he is. That's fine. No, it's either people who were like, I don't want to talk about that guy, or oh, he's a great guy.
Why is that? Because I'm in the same boat as you. So tell me why that is. I know the answer, but I want you to say it.
Because we're not fake.
You mean we don't wear the mask?
I threw the mask off years ago.
I know. That's exactly what it is.
There's nothing there's a few things in this world that I hate more than this, but one of the things that I hate is fake people.
Oh, God.
And for some reason, I have very good intuition. I can always tell when somebody's fake.
Yeah.
I can name 3 off the top of my head right now.
Right. And that's exactly what it is. Because people who really like me to the extreme that you could probably say love, they'll say this about me. And I think they probably say it about you, Brian, is that you're so honest to the point where sometimes it almost sounds cruel when it comes out of your mouth. But I told them this, you're never going to have to worry about where I stand.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you exactly how it is. And at that point, it's up to you to process how you want to process what I just said, because that's on you at that point, right? That's not on me.
Yeah.
It's how you take it, like you just said. But I'm not going to coddle you.
No.
Because what does that do?
You're coddling people regardless of age.
doesn't do anything.
It doesn't work. If anything, it ends up hurting the person in the long run.
Everybody in the long run.
Yeah, because
so it's not worth it.
If I coddle somebody, not only has life inevitably is life inevitably wow, English is hard.
Inevitably.
Yeah. Not only will life inevitably hurt someone, but then who are they going to blame?
You, because you weren't honest.
I just like to tell people the hard truth of like, yeah, life can suck sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's what you do with the negatives that can help define you, help shape you. It's like that episode that we had of being forged in the fire.
Yes.
You don't always have to have life's pains and struggles mold you into something that you never wanted to be.
Right.
That's a choice. Let's be real. It's a choice. The action itself or whatever bad thing happens to you doesn't have to, be something that you can cheer about, obviously.
Right.
But how you can overcome the struggle and become a better person through it is what you need to look for.
Right.
And I've seen people, like, I know we've mentioned this before in other episodes, but I've seen people come out of some pretty traumatic things, and they will tell me they refuse. And I love how they use the word refuse, because they don't just say, I'm not going to no, I refuse to let it turn me into a victim.
Right. Right.
No matter how small or big it is.
Right. Yeah.
And I do have a story I could tell you, but I don't have this person's permission to tell it, but I would love to share it, because when they shared it with me today, it was kind of inspiring.
You'll have to see if you can.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that.
But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's true, Brian, because I find, like, on the other end of the spectrum, that people that really don't like me, it is because I'm honest, but it's because they don't know how to handle not just me, but they don't know how to handle the truth. So that's on them.
Yeah.
That's a them thing. And it's sad.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get really comfortable in their bubbles, and they don't like to hear opposing ideas.
Yeah.
I know we talked about that in prior episodes, cognitive dissonance, being confronted with things that pull you out of your comfort zone. But I think that's also, too, why a lot of people come to me for advice.
Oh, yeah. It's a two-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like people trust me. They trust my words.
Yeah.
And especially because I haven't done anything to make people think otherwise. It's not like I've lied to anyone. A lot of advice that I give is based on, like, reality. It's not a like, oh, well, maybe you should do this and maybe it'll work. No, I'll just tell them straight up how they should handle it.
Right.
And lo and behold, if they go against me, they're going to come back and say, well, that didn't work.
Right. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Because we are a lot alike. Is that good or bad?
I guess it depends on who we're talking to.
Ourselves.
So, yeah.
Okay, so now, no, are you good?
Yeah, I was just going to say, sometimes I give myself advice that I don't want to listen to.
I know. Stop talking. So now we're going to get into today's podcast.
Yeah, 28 minutes later.
Right. So today's podcast, we're going to discuss pride, insecurities, and responsibility.
Oh, this is going to be a fun one.
Oh, God, I know. I get so scared sometimes when I know I got to spend the next hour with you. Okay, so what do you think, Brian, when I say pride, insecurities, and responsibilities? Now, before you ask me how you want to answer that, you can take either one alone, or you can put them together. I don't care. Just, oh boy. Just answer it.
I think they all work in tandem.
They do.
I think they all work in tandem. You can't have one without the other, because pride, or let's start with this instead. So say them one more time.
Pride, insecurities, and responsibility.
Insecurity restricts you from taking responsibility. The lack of responsibility can lead to pride above it. You see how that works? I don't want to have responsibility because of how insecure I am based on what I'm doing, which leads me to substitute the responsibility with pride. I'm too good for it. I put myself above it to cover my insecurity. Oftentimes, the most insecure are the most prideful. Why? I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because a lot of times it's the feeling of, I don't want to, maybe euphoria, the joy of getting what you want, and allowing yourself to kind of hide behind the curtain, but allowing yourself to be something you're not. Putting pride at the forefront of, I'm too good for this, knowing in the back of your mind, I can't do this.
Wow.
Because what's that saying?
I know, and I'm thinking about that right now. It's going through my head. Like, that's an awful way to be and think.
Well, you know what that's saying? The
what?
Pride always becomes before a fall. Why? Why does pride have to result in a fall? Do you know?
No.
No.
Well, I don't know what you're going to say, so say it.
The fall is a result of the instability of handling the situation or a lack of responsibility.
Wow. Oh, so could it also be lack of accountability?
It could have part of it, yeah.
So pride.
And if it doesn't make any sense, it's because it goes very deep. And that's why I said when she introduced the title, I was like, this is going to be fun.
Because I know what's in your head already.
This goes very deep.
I know.
I hope you guys have popcorn.
Okay. Because I know what you want to say. I do. Okay, so let's just back up a little bit, which I love your explanation of that. That was great. So in our last podcast, which was our live one, okay, because we talked a little bit at the introduction about the podcast that we did that wasn't live, about your words and your mind, your thoughts. But in our last podcast we did, which was live, that we talked about narcissism.
Yep.
So what I want to do, Brian, is I want to bring both of those podcasts together tonight. Mind, words, and narcissism. Okay? Because I believe they all fit together. And they do, because of what you just said when you defined to me pride, insecurities, and responsibility. Okay. So in our podcast about narcissism, you said that narcissism was rooted in pride. Okay? Which I wasn't really surprised by that answer as much as I was surprised that some people can be that selfish. Do you think people
Do you
think people, my mind's just like going everywhere. Do you think that people realize their selfishness? Like, okay, no, I'm not saying everybody is a narcissist because we have selfish tendencies, because we all have feelings, we all have emotions. And we've talked about that there's a line between having those feelings and emotions and that line now where you're on the narcissism side. So what I'm saying to you is it possible? Like, I know when I'm being selfish because I'm self-aware. And I don't like that feeling it gives me when I'm being selfish. To me, I'm just going to use this. It feels yucky, right? But do you think when a narcissism person is being selfish that they're okay with it?
Yeah, or else they wouldn't do it. Yeah.
Why do you like that feeling though? Or why do you like that at all? When you say, or they just wouldn't do it, like just don't do it.
Because it's probably the only thing that's ever brought them gratification. How can you want what you never had if you've never approached life with an absence of narcissism?
But why do you need self-gratitude? You need
gratification.
Okay, so you need gratification.
No, I'm correcting you. You said gratitude.
Okay.
Not
Gratification then.
gratification.
Okay, gratification. But why do you need gratification? Do you need an applause for being who you are?
Some people do.
You don't.
Why do you think we have the participation award?
You don't need an applause for who you are. Just be you.
Well, no, they
Not
need,
everybody
they
gets
need
an
it.
award.
I know that. And it's a shame that the world has tried to gratify people because that brings in pride. It's
Well,
like,
there's winners and there's losers, friend.
yeah, it's what you do. It's like I said, it's like the example I gave with coming through tragedy. Or I should say breaking through tragedy. It's not allowing yourself to become a victim or taking pride in your failure. It's taking pride to a different level of, I don't want to use the word pride. I want to use a different word because pride, in my opinion, you can never really have pride in a good context. Like people can say, well, I have pride for my country, for example, but to me, that still sounds very arrogant. It sounds very higher than you. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe
Like
proud is better.
proud. Yeah, not pride.
Proud.
Yeah.
Change the vowel.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a person who is a narcissist. They haven't experienced the other side or they don't want to. But there is a level of self-awareness with narcissism in general.
Wow. So you also mentioned that a narcissist knows what they're doing, and that, like you just said, that shocked me. That out of everything you said, and I guess I'll say it this way. I know when I'm doing something, good or bad. I am self-aware, like I said. I know when I'm being selfish and I don't like it, but I change it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do the things that, well, I hope so, that I don't. My motive is never to do anything with a selfish intent in a bad motive way to get what I want. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That, I guess that when you said that, Brian, that they know what they're doing, that's what shocked me, because it's always a bad way to get what you want.
Yeah. I'm very deep in thought. I don't know.
I know you are. I can see that.
Yeah, because in my experience, and again, I'm speaking very generally here, but in my experience dealing with narcissists is that, and it comes into what we're talking to with this episode, it's that I've never met a narcissist who hasn't had attributes of all three of those things that you said.
Wow.
They suffer with insecurity. They have a lot of pride.
And they take no responsibility
And there's
for
zero
nothing.
responsibility over their actions. It's always somebody else's fault. That's why I said all three of them are linked together.
Uh-huh.
And when I say linked, I mean tied at the hip.
Tethered.
You can't have one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
Generally. Okay? I'm sure there's probably somebody out there in the world who is prideful but has a lot of confidence. Congratulations, pat yourself on the back. But to me, pride cannot be associated with anything positive because, again, it puts you at a higher level. It puts you at a higher level of thinking of, I'm better than you. Anybody who thinks that they're better than anybody else is immediately somebody I have very little respect for.
Yeah, because why do you have to feel that way? Why do you have to compete? Why do you...
Well, it's like I said, I think towards like the beginning of our podcast, like some of the first few episodes, you put your pants on in the morning the same way I do.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't care how much money you have, how much influence you have. You take all that away, what are you?
Right.
And I'm not saying you're worthless.
Right.
I'm saying you're equal.
Right. And that brings me to a time when I was talking to Papa one day, and he had said to me at one time, he said, Penny, be careful how high you put yourself, because that rug could be pulled out from under you at any moment and you'll find yourself on the floor just like the next person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. And sometimes maybe it takes a great awakening again hitting rock bottom. To be looking up at the ceiling and wondering how you got there.
Yep.
You know?
Now it's a matter of how stuck are you in your pride to make you look at the ceiling and go, I haven't fallen far enough yet.
Wow. Ouch. Okay.
Some people will grab a shovel and keep digging.
That's true. Put down your shovel, friend. You're not doing yourselves any favor. So we mentioned how as people, we all have some tendencies, right, Brian? Selfishness, pride. But one of the questions, and I believe you answered both, was, do you believe insecurities are rooted in narcissism? You said yes. And I said, do you think they can ever take responsibility for themselves? You said no, but do you think a narcissist can take responsibility for themselves?
Anybody can change. It takes, some people it takes more things to happen than others. For some people, all it'll have to do is you just telling them what they're doing is not right.
Appropriate,
right?
You mean
whatever.
calling them on the carpet?
Yeah, that can work. But in my experience, even when you call a narcissist on the carpet, they're still going to continue to be a narcissist because it's all they know. And I know you could say, well, why don't you do your best to help them? How?
That's it.
How? Sometimes there is nothing you can do.
And they have to find themselves in that place.
They have to follow their own path.
Right. And that has to be okay, right?
Like, obviously, as good human beings, I would assume most of our viewers are, of course we don't want people to have negative traits, but at some point you have to understand that you can only help those who want help, who are willing to help themselves.
That's true.
Because if you exhaust yourself trying to help somebody who does not want help themselves, you're just wasting your breath.
Right.
Wasting your time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember you saying in that live podcast that with a narcissist, sometimes the best way to handle them is just to ignore them.
Just to say nothing.
Just say nothing.
Yep.
So let them keep digging?
I'll hand you the shovel.
Okay, there's that. So where I'm going with this tonight, because we're bringing both podcasts together, is I looked up 2 traits of a narcissist, and I know last week we looked at 12, but the 2, and the reason I want to look at these 2 is because they do go with pride, insecurity, and responsibility, which is what we're talking about tonight is. So one of the traits is fragile sense of self. What that means is, despite an outward show of confidence, they have a fragile self-esteem and an underlying insecurity.
Did I not nail it?
So they show an outward sense that they're confident, but they're not.
There's the mask again.
And see, this is the part where you had mentioned earlier, Brian, that people either love or hate you. That's how it is with me, because I actually had a client at work one day say to me, wow, you hold yourself with a lot of confidence. And you want to know what I was doing? Nothing. I was just standing there. And I said, what makes you say that? He says, I don't know. There's just something about you. But
notice how he said confidence and not pride.
Right. I wasn't doing anything to, like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, for him to just say, wow, you hold yourself with a lot of confidence. I don't think of myself any higher than anybody else. If anything, I put people above me because I want to help people. That's why we're doing what we do, right? Again, I realize that everybody puts their pants on the same way I do. I've learned this lesson the hard way, but here's the thing. Why would he say that? He didn't know me.
Yep. A lot of times people can see it. But note, again, I really want to drive that point home of notice how he said confidence, not pride. Because to me, pride is very snobby, very stuck up.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence is holding your head to a position of, I am me, this is who I am, not I'm better than you.
Right. And I didn't feel prideful when he said that. You know the word that came to my mind when he said that? Integrity. Because if there was one thing that Papa hit home a lot, was integrity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this
kind of like, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go
I just
ahead.
want to give another quick example of like expressing what I mean, because it holds a lot of value to me personally. When I look at an image of a bald eagle,
Oh yeah.
I don't see pride. I see proud. I see confidence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I see. I don't see the imagery of pride and arrogance. I see confidence. I see value.
Right.
That's how I would describe it to give a more clearer picture.
I like that. That's good. So another one of the traits is takes no responsibility, avoids taking responsibility for their actions, and often blames others. So why do you think some people can't or won't take responsibility for themselves, Brian? I know you mentioned pride, but is that it? Is that the reason?
That could be part of it. I can use the recent example that I had. I think I don't remember if I told this story in the live or in an actual episode, but the drama that I dealt with while we were building our project is there was that person who had the drama, took no responsibility because she lacked confidence in herself.
Okay, so it wasn't a pride issue as much as it was a confidence issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you think some people can't or won't admit that they're wrong, always playing the blame game?
Because it makes them weak, or makes them appear weak.
Why do you want to appear weak?
Because the whole thing of having take responsibility for this, it's a mindset thing. If I tell you to take responsibility for your actions, it makes that person feel vulnerable. So they always point the finger at somebody else, like my former friend did. Instead of taking responsibility for the outburst that she had, she was always willing to point the fingers at somebody else and say they should have did it differently. Why can't you, even if she was right, why can't you take responsibility for your actions? Your actions, to me, it sounds like you want to give justification to your actions by not taking responsibility. Where if the roles would have been reversed, it would have been me, I would have been like, first of all, I take responsibility for my actions, and I will deal with the consequences of said actions. But here's my critique. Maybe next time we can communicate better. Notice how easy it is to take that level of accountability, that responsibility, instead of just passing the buck to somebody else.
So you said that
it makes her feel, or it made her feel weak because she didn't want to be put in a position where she was wrong.
Wow.
And I can say this with absolute certainty because it wasn't just the drama that she caused in our group, but also out of it. Okay. Nothing was her fault.
Wow.
Even though it was.
Right. So in the podcast about the mind and the words, if you can remember going back to that, Brian, you said things don't just happen, it takes action. In other words, it takes change. Like you can't just think something or just say something and not do, right? Is where I'm going with this. And I agree. I do believe that your words, your mind must also line up, but there must be a change. And with that, I'll say this. When all those things come together, I believe that that's where the transformation begins. But you have to be willing.
Yeah.
You can say all you want. You can think all you want. You can even have thoughts and ideas about those things. But until you actually do something about it, nothing's ever going to change, right? So that's where I'm going to get into this. This is going to get maybe, I hope, a little deep. You ready for the ride? Okay, so I had a student ask me this week, do you believe people get what they deserve? Kind of like karma, right? And I said, I explained it to her like this, because we're deep thinkers, right? I said, I don't believe you always get what you want or even what you deserve, good or bad. But what I do believe is that you get who you are.
That's a good way to put it.
Do you understand?
I would go a step further.
Oh boy. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I would go a step further, though, and say you can play the cards that you're dealt any way you want.
Is that who you are?
It can shape you. It's like turning around anything that was bad and turning it around for good. Playing the cards that you're dealt, whether they're fair or unfair, does not define you as a person.
Okay, I get
but
that.
you can play the cards smart.
I like that. So it does have to do with who you are. And I say that because you often hear people say, well, why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? Well, it rains on the just and the unjust, my friends. So I don't believe that you always get what you want or what you even deserve, good or bad, but I do believe you get who you are.
You get how you choose to act.
Is that a mindset?
I would go even further and say it comes down to choice.
It's always a choice.
Yeah. It's not just about mindset, it's about choice. Mindset can alter your choice, but it's like somebody who wakes up with a headache, for example. They can choose to treat others poorly because of their headache, or they can choose to be nice and say, I have a headache, bear with me, instead of letting the headache be an excuse to be a jerk.
So it's who you are.
Yep.
So what it really comes down to for what I'm talking about, Brian, and I think you're agreeing with me, is what it comes down to is taking responsibility for yourself. We always say it starts with you.
Yep.
When you allow yourself to make these changes within, we talked about that, you and I, a little bit today, right? About everything you need is within you, right? So when that happens, I believe that it is the renewal of the mind and the heart. The world can be a better place for all of us, I think, Brian, if we learn to renew our minds and our hearts. But it takes change from within, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it takes a very strong mind to alter their situations.
It does.
And a lot of times it's easier to
ride the ride.
Not just ride the ride. I guess it depends on where you're at in life, because a lot of people will take the hand that they're dealt, and like I said earlier, they'll play the victim. But then you get those other people who are dealt a bad hand, and they're mature about it. Again, I'd love to tell my friend's story, so I'm going to have
You
to
need to get permission.
I'm going to get permission from them, because it's a really good example of taking something very traumatic and by choice allowing your life to be molded a certain way where you're not going to let the bad influence you. Because the things that this person went through in this particular moment was just mind-blowing to me. I couldn't imagine being in that situation. And we're not just talking about, like, seeing a car accident, how tragic those can be. I'm talking about something, I want to use the word terrifying,
Wow, you need to tell me after or something. Wow.
But it's inspiring seeing how she responded to it. Like, probably not in the moment, but how she dealt with it after. Mm-hmm. That's inspiring. Because I've seen people go through much less than she did, and they allow their lives to fall apart. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm a very strong advocate for choice.
That's what I was just going to say. Choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found this, it's not really a quote, I would say, because I couldn't find the person who wrote this or said this, but I did find this, and I thought it was quite fitting for where we're at about the renewal of the mind and the heart. So I'm just going to read this. It said, your brain will constantly rewire itself to suit information that you feed into it. If you constantly complain, find excuses, etc., it will make it much easier to find things to upset you, regardless of what is happening around you. Likewise, if you constantly search for opportunities, abundance, love, and things to be grateful for, it will make it much easier to find a reflection, remember that word, of those things around you. It takes practice, but over time, this is a very powerful way to reshape your reality.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Wow, when I found that, I was like, so it's true. Your mind, your words, your heart, your intent, you can't get away from it. But the problem is, Brian, with everything we've been taught, like you said earlier, it's hard to think that way because we've been hammered with the negatives and the bad and to complain all the time and find excuses and not take responsibility and blame everybody and blah, blah, blah. But to look for opportunities to better ourselves, to look for abundance in things, to look for opportunities to share, to love people, it's hard to find the positives.
Well, it's like the same example with all the research that I do. I oftentimes will try to find the truth in research that makes me uncomfortable because it shakes the foundation and forces me to change instead of feeding myself information that I want to hear. Mm-hmm. It goes with everything, you know? And I like what you said earlier, how your mind will rewire itself, because oftentimes if people feed themselves negative things, negative information, negative thoughts, all of it, their minds rewire to be comfortable with it. And then it turns into something that they only feed themselves. This is why whenever I encourage people to do research on things, whether it's with the self or external things, always look things up that shake your opinion.
Wow.
Because finding that will lead you to truth. Mm-hmm. And it's oftentimes why I do research into things that I'm completely opposed against.
Right.
Because without that how do I word it? Without the earthquake of information, how can I rebuild? How can I grow?
How can you change who you are? Find who you are. Maybe it's even just finding who you are because you've been that fake person your whole life.
Sometimes you have to tear down a building to build a better one.
Rip that mask off.
Instead of just repairing the one that's there.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. Wow. So I said in last week's podcast, Brian, and we're getting to the end of it, so if you need to say anything else, obviously that's fine, that I believe the key to life is changing yourself first. And in that quote, or if you want to call it a quote, what I just read, it said, it will make it much easier to find a reflection of those things around you. What I said last week, to remember that word, is be the reflection, not the mirror. This is why I'm constantly trying to better myself, because I want people to look at me and say, I want those good qualities that are in her, in me.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So be the person you want others to be. Hold yourself at a higher standard by showing empathy, compassion, and love. And think on those things, right? This way we won't just change the world, but we will be world changers.
That's good.
Yeah. And that's
always, if I was to say anything to finish this, search within yourself to find the things that make you uncomfortable, because it will inspire you to change. Whether it's treat others differently than how you have been, or put yourself in their position, empathy. Put yourself in a different position. Don't allow yourself or your pride to determine who you are. always put yourself in a humble position, whether it's anything, whether it's trying to sympathize with somebody or having a debate, or even if it's taking criticism.
Responsibility.
Yeah. Take responsibility for yourself, but not in a woe is me kind of way.
Right. And I was just going to add to that, like, you can have confidence without being proud.
I would say pride and confidence can't coexist. They can't exist on the same playing field. Because confidence is an assurance of yourself. Pride is arrogance of yourself.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I like that. Because you said earlier about your friend that she doesn't have a lot of confidence, and that bothered me because it's not good.
Nope.
Wow. So I'm going to read our quote if you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to read the quote that I always leave us with, and then I just have a few announcements that believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that your best is always good enough. Remember that we can be found on many different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, X, and Apple. We also have a Facebook page if you'd like to join that at Give 'em Heck Podcast is what our Facebook page is called. We're also on TikTok now at Give 'em Heck Official. We also have an email at giveemheck@gmail.com. Again, we won't be on for the next couple weeks, but we will be back on December 6th after Thanksgiving. And is there anything else, Brian, that you want to add, or we're good?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, well, we're good, and we'll see you on the next podcast, which should be live.
Yes, we're very excited for that for sure.
Yeah.
I really like the interaction, so I really hope to see you guys there again. Mm-hmm. And hopefully with a lot more people that are willing to engage with us, because I love the engagements.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big reason why I want to do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, have a good rest of your weekend, and have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Goodbye, everyone.
Good night.